The 4 astronauts aboard NASA's Artemis II mission have passed the halfway point of their journey to the moon. The Orion spacecraft carrying humans faster and farther away from the Earth than ever before. Joining us now is Dr. Roberta Bondar, Canadian astronaut and neurologist who became Canada's first female astronaut and first neurologist in space aboard NASA's Space Shuttle Discovery in January of 1992. Dr. Bondar, it's good to speak with you today.
Nice to speak with you. Thank you.
I guess I want to start by asking you about the view from space. We finally have a few pictures taken by the Artemis II crew, stunning images of the Earth as they move away from their home planet. Such few people have seen a view like that, and I know you saw a version of it. What was that like for you, and how must it be for them?
They're getting quite the view because no one's really seen this with the human eye since about 1972 when people were going to the moon. You have to get that far away. The Space Shuttle International Space Station don't really get that view. We get about 1,200 kilometers out one window in one direction because we're only about 300 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, and there are thousands of miles beyond Earth. So this is an incredible shot that Reid Wiseman took. I mean, you can see it's basically the Earth eclipsing the sun with a crescent of the light around it. And you can see the aurora on both the north and the south poles of the planet. Just an incredible updated blue marble shot, if you will.
We are 3 days into this 10-day mission. Monday is when we might see that historic lunar flyby if all goes to plan. Talk to us about the importance, the significance of this upcoming part of the mission.
Well, they're going to be people liken this to the Apollo 8 mission, which was the first circumnavigation around the dark side of the moon, but they were much, much closer. This particular flyby is going to be 4,000 miles out. It is really into deep space. So they'll be exposed to the background radiation of space called basically the galactic background radiation of space. They'll also be subjected to any solar wind or any solar storms that will happen on the surface of the sun. So they're really out there in deep space, and that's where we have not been before. They're going to be looking at the dark side of the moon differently. They're going to actually see the eclipse of the sun, the moon actually eclipsing the sun. So they'll be able to take pictures of the corona of the sun. It's all going to be quite a marvelous experience for them, things that we've not been able to see because human beings have not been there.
Jeremy Hansen connected with Earth from deep space overnight, another historic first for the Canadian Space Agency. He also spoke about the views. He said riding the rocket has been extraordinary and very different, he said, from the simulations. So, since you have done so much research in the medical part of traveling to space, you are a neurologist. Physically, mentally, what might our 4-person crew be experiencing at this stage?
They look pretty good, actually. Not sure what they're experiencing inside, but we do get certain things that happen to the body, no question, getting into space flight. And they do have these smartwatches on now that will be looking at certain aspects of their physiology and their sleep cycle and some of the stress things that they will face. This will help to inform researchers on how best to deal with some of these situations in the future. And they have exercise equipment that is going to try to, at best, minimize some of the effects, the short-term effects that they'll have on this 10-day mission with the loss of a lot of the gravitational force on Earth, such as some of the early effects of bone loss or some of the muscle effects and some of the effects of the heart. But one of the things that we can't stop are things like the fluid shifts that we have in space. And we always talk about having this puffy face bird leg syndrome where we end up having a lot less fluid in the legs of a human being, and it migrates up towards your head. And your body gets rid of 2 liters of your blood volume filtered through the kidneys, because in space you only need 3 liters. We're down here, we need 5 because a liter gets pulled into each leg because of gravity. So in space, you don't have that. And so your heart gets a little bit large when those 2 liters come back up, and it tells your kidney to get rid of them. So there are those changes that are things that we can't do anything about, really. And I'm sure that the astronauts will be feeling those things, but they're imperceptible. But they do have this flywheel device, so they can try to do some of these what are called countermeasures to try to improve their conditioning to prepare them for the return after those 10 days, excuse me.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You know, as someone who's been to space, spent years researching space, I am interested to know how you feel about the Artemis mission overall, because we know the goal is to return humans to the moon first, to establish a lunar settlement, and eventually to send humans to Mars. Do you have thoughts about that?
I'm sure that I've got so many thoughts, but just to keep them under 30 seconds. One of the things that I think is quite intriguing is basically the human-machine interface, and they're trying to look at ways of making these kinds of missions not just smarter, but safer, trying to understand how some of these things that, in terms of piloting a vehicle, for example, putting it on manual, just looking at target acquisition, looking at things that we need to have to be able to make the environment safer, to be able to have the pressurization of the capsule, to be able to have things like the carbon scrubbers, carbon dioxide scrubbers. There are a number of things that the environmental life support system has to really be smart about. We heard about the toilet, and heaven knows that's one thing nobody wants to have go wrong. So there are technological things just to support a human being that are very important to try to understand. So I think these early flights are all about trying to understand the hardware that we build on Earth, but we're not quite sure whether they're really going to work once we get them into space, because they all have to interact with each other, and then they have to interact with a human being. So these are really early days, and they're all about learning right now, and then trying to make things smarter for the next flight, and then the next flight, and on it goes. So that's what technology is all about, the development of things.
I mean, it's extraordinary even to think about. It's a thing of science fiction movies and books. A few members of this crew are making history. Jeremy Hansen, the first non-American to visit the moon. Victor Glover, the first black astronaut to go beyond lower Earth orbit. Christina Cook, the first woman. You've held the title of Canada's first female astronaut for the past 34 years. How do you view the weight of holding an individual record like that?
Actually, I don't think about it, but I do see that we don't have very many women, and we haven't had any of color. We haven't had any Indigenous people. So we really haven't represented the whole of Canadian culture, which is evolving for sure. But we also have to have the opportunity for people to be able to establish themselves with the proper and the good educational opportunities and experience as well. It's not just about degrees and that type of thing, but there's also community activity. There's also the ability to communicate. There are many soft skills as well as the hard skills that one needs to be an astronaut or to be a communicator. Those are things that we have to be able to have people to have access to. And if we diminish those opportunities for people, we're not going to be able to have a whole whack of Jeremy Hansens in the future, or Roberta Bondars, for example, or Jenny Sidey's. We're not going to be able to have those individuals as part of a Canadian diversity in the space community, and that's what we need. We need to continue to have a representation in this worldwide effort, but we need to keep moving forward to have those opportunities there for Canadians.
Dr. Bondar, thank you. We appreciate your time and your invaluable insight today.
Thank you.
That is Canada's first female astronaut, Dr. Roberta Bondar.